if you're someone who is concerned with or focused on your personal development and your spiritual development, then slowly but surely getting to the point of conquering this part of yourself is very, very beneficial. And the reason for that, and I'm going to explain, by the way, how to overcome this aspect of yourself, how to actually stop MBing and stop watching porn. The reason that it's so valuable to begin the process of actually overcoming this is because what you'll find with spiritual growth is that the more you let go of, the lighter you become, or the less chains there are attached to you, the lighter you become. The more you reduce, the bigger you get. The things, the impulses that we have, the urges that we have, the needs and requirements that we have as human beings, they bind us. And you find that if you let go of something, to society as a whole, it looks like you're losing, you're missing out. You're reducing that amount of pleasure from your life. So your life has actually gone down in how enjoyable it is. But what you'll find, what comes with letting things go is wisdom. And you start to know that actually when you let go of things, you grow. You become lighter, you become more complete. These aspects of us control us, and they make us feel as though we need them in order to feel a certain way. And it's very much like if you've ever been a smoker, and when I was about 16 I used to smoke a lot, you can't imagine when I'm going to relate this to going out, because this is how I used to think when I was about 16, is I would say to myself, I couldn't possibly go out and have a few drinks without having a cigarette. It would just ruin the whole night out. There'd be no pleasure there. And of course that's just a story that you go along with. But when you do eventually give up cigarettes, if this is something you've done, you'll know that you'll get to a certain point where your enjoyment of the night is still the same as it was before, but without that thing. And in some ways it's enhanced because you are in more control of yourself. You're more complete. And you'll find the same with lots of these different areas in life as a whole. If you let go of, and you don't need to let go of these things, but just as an example, if you let go of, say, eating meat. So for me personally, I knew that my body functioned better without meat. It's not the case for everyone, but I knew mine did. And there were other reasons behind why I wanted to let it go. And when I let go of meat, people from the outside, I could tell, took this mentality of like, oh, you can't have that burger anymore, or you can't have that thing anymore. They used to look at my life choice as if it had reduced the enjoyment of my life. And whilst it may appear like that from the outside, actually you become more complete, you become lighter, you become more in control, and you become more of who you really are. It's hard to explain. It can only be experienced, I think. And no doubt you have let go of things and had that experience to some degree or another. So cigarettes is one, alcohol is one, for me eating meat, for some people it might be letting go of eating sugar. And in this case, I'm talking about sexual, letting go of MBing, letting go of having to satisfy yourself. Other than, I think, if you're in a partnership, if you've got a girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, then I think satisfying their needs is also important. So it's different. I'm not talking about sex. I'm not saying that you should never have sex, but I'm just talking specifically about self-satisfaction. And as soon as you're feeling the urge to do it, going and satisfying it. That's what we're going to be talking about letting go of today. And the way that I'd like to relate this, and I think growing up we're not taught about any of this. You know, you're taught as a child, some people, don't overeat, don't undereat. You can't eat too many sweets, they're bad for you. You're taught all of this. Don't exercise too much, it's not very good for you. Or don't oversleep, you'll feel groggy. Sometimes we're taught these types of things, but we're not taught anything when it comes to our sexual needs, our sexual impulses and urges. So naturally, kids and teenagers, when they grow up and these feelings start developing, they just learn to satisfy them, and they continually learn to satisfy them. It's almost like if when a child was developing, you didn't give them any rules or guidelines around eating food or what foods to eat. You just let them eat whatever they wanted, as much as they wanted, all day long, like a Labrador. And then, everyone would become obese and unhealthy. But as I say, there are no rules or regulations set or advised when it comes to sexual urges and how to manage them. So naturally, I think because of this, 99.9% of men struggle with this aspect of their life. They have no control over it whatsoever. They have an urge, they satisfy it. And that part of themselves is used to having total free reign, total control. And why it's important for me, and this is, I suppose, is a personal thing. For some people, it's not an issue. For me, I noticed that I started to recognize that it was an area of myself I wasn't in control of. If the urge came, I would fulfill it. I wouldn't stop myself and say, I don't need that. I would just go along with the feeling that came along. And I started to see sort of look at myself and say, am I in control of this? Who's in control here? I've not made the decision. This feeling has come along and swept me away. I've not made that decision. I'm not in control. I don't need it. It's purely pleasure seeking. I don't need it. I thought I needed it at the time, but as I got older and started to understand more, I realized I didn't need it. And I think that's a big thing. And what you'll find is that when you start to look at this area of your life and you start to say, okay, I'm going to stop doing that now. You might go a day, you might go a couple of days. At some point, the urges will come and they will walk into your life like an army, swarm you, and you'll feel absolutely compelled to have to release and satisfy that need. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I didn't need to do that anymore, to build up the strength to not do that, to feel the urge, to feel this army swarm me, but not go along with it. It took a lot of strength, it took a lot of practice before I could do that. But what I found, which was really interesting, was that these urges would come and they would swarm me, but they would leave again. And it might be 10 minutes after they came in, it might be 2 hours after they came in, it might be the whole day. But at some point, the urges would leave me. And when they left, I grew in confidence, I grew in strength, my willpower, my everything grew, everything developed. And then the next time this army came in, I had more confidence, I had more strength and certainty that, okay, I can ride this feeling and then it will leave me again. And as it leaves me, I grow. And the beautiful thing is that you grow in control. And as spiritual seekers, we're trying to unshackle all of the things that control us, all of the things that we do without any reasoning behind it. We just do. We get this, I feel like doing that. I feel like doing that. It's the mind that's leading us. The mind is the root of everything that we do, and the mind leads us all over the place. All of the spiritual work that we do is all about gaining control of that mind again. It's reining that mind in and seeing that it's an instrument for our use. It's a servant of ours. It should be a servant of ours. But if we just go along with a feeling that sprouts from it eventually, that we feel in the body, we're not in control. The mind's in control. The mind has presented this thing because it's become familiar with seeking pleasure through it. And if you just go along with it and satisfy that need, the mind grows in strength. You don't grow in strength. So this has been my experience with conquering this aspect, is that the more you abstain, the more that you feel these feelings but don't act on those feelings, you grow in confidence, you grow in control, you grow in every area. And similar to what I was saying at the start, with people from the outside think, oh wow, your life must be so restricted and there's no enjoyment there, and I can't believe that you're living like that, that type of way. It's all ignorance, because providing you do this in a step-by-step steady way and you don't try and do all of this in one go, you become freer. You become more of what you really are. You start stepping into your true nature. This has been my experience, is that the more I let go of all of the human tendencies, all of the needs that are tied to the human being, you start becoming what you really are. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And I think that everyone should slowly but surely start to look at these areas of their lives and weed them out. So anyway, getting to the important part of how do you start to overcome these urges, and what tools and ways did I start to do it? The first thing I would say is that, similar to people that try to stop smoking, often you'll hear people say, oh, I tried so many times, year on year on year, and sometimes I lasted a few weeks, sometimes a few months, but I'd always go back to it. Those look like failures, and they're failures in the moment because you wanted to quit something and you didn't, but they all add to the outcome in the end. You know, eventually you conquer it, and all of those mini, what you would perceive or call failures initially, all added to it. You grew in experience, you grew in understanding, in willpower, in all of these different ways. So what I would say is that if you're trying and trying and trying and you keep failing at this, and you know the urges come in and you just satisfy those urges and you feel like you've failed, don't, because each one of those times is a stepping stone and you're growing. So never see it as a failure, see it as just experience. I can't tell you how many times I failed trying to do this. I failed so many times because the urges would just come in with such strength that I couldn't cope, and I felt like I'd failed, but you don't. You've not failed. You're evolving. You're growing all the time. So that's one thing: is see it as a progression. See it as something that takes time to do. The other thing I think that's really important is that what makes it easier is the strength of your willpower, and what corresponds or amplifies is probably the best way of putting it. What amplifies the strength of your willpower is your want, your why. And when you've got a very, very strong want to do something, it makes your willpower, it amplifies your willpower, it develops your willpower. If you don't really want to do it, if you're not that fussed about it, if you don't really see the point in it, you won't do it. It's too hard. It's too hard to do unless you have to really want it for you to be able to conquer this. So what I would suggest is really dig deep into yourself, into the reasoning, and have a clear cut reason as to why you really want to let go of this. Be precise, you know, write it down if you need to. For me, it was because I saw that it was a big hurdle in my personal development, and I'd eliminated a lot of other things over the years that I considered to be hurdles in my own life, and this was one that was stood out to me. So it became a big want of mine to do it, and that amplified my willpower, and it meant that when these urges came in, I was able to sit with them. And although it felt at times like I couldn't, I still managed to. And I'm putting a lot of it down to divine grace as well. I did pray and ask for help, and I felt like that made a big difference when these feelings came on, in my ability to let go of them. So that is one thing, is that your want, and I know it sounds really basic, really simple, but a lot of this stuff is, we want magic tools and tricks and things, but it's simple things. Really want to do it. Really want to do it. The other thing is, make your life easy. Take things like corn off of your computer. You can put blocks on them now. Instagram these days is like free corn in some cases. Delete it. Remove yourself from pages or any influences that are going to make this difficult for you. It's, you know, if you're exposing yourself, if I'm walking along a sweet aisle all day long, 24 hours a day, and my goal is to stop eating sugar, I'm making my life unnecessarily hard. Just don't bring sugar into your house. Don't expose yourself to it. Don't make it, don't make things more difficult for yourself. So put a blocker on your laptop, put a blocker on your phone, remove social media if needed, delete Instagram, delete these places where you're exposed to images or content that is going to make this hard for you. That's another thing that's quite simple. Another thing that you can do, and this is the key way that I think I overcame it. This is the really key way, actually, and this is the primary crux of how I managed to overcome this. And again, it's so stupidly simple, but it works. You'll find that the root of the urges begins with a thought. So it might manifest as an urge initially, but immediately that urge will be accompanied by a thought. But generally speaking, it starts with a thought. So it might be that you see something on Instagram, it might be just a thought comes into your mind of a sexual nature. And from that seed sprouts the desire and the feelings in the body. They all sprout from that. As soon as you notice those thoughts, you have to replace them. You have to swap those thoughts out. So what I would suggest doing is finding something that you really love. So let's say you love playing guitar. Let's say you love listening to music. Let's say you love cooking. Whatever it is that you really love, and if you don't really love something, then find something that you can replace this with. As soon as you as soon as you notice those thoughts appear, you go and do that activity. So make sure it's a healthy thing, make sure it's something that's either neutral or healthy. So as soon as you start to see that thought, let's just say you're at home, I don't know, you're on the sofa, you're watching TV, this thought appears, the urges develop. You immediately get up and you go and find your guitar and you start playing guitar. Or you immediately go outside and you go for a walk. Go and do something, change your thought process. You will notice, I can't emphasize this anymore, but you'll notice that the thoughts keep reappearing. And the more that the thoughts are there, the longer the thoughts are there, the stronger these urges will become. So you have to root it out from a thought level. Now, for those of you that meditate a lot, if you're someone that meditates, a lot, it's much easier for you to let go of the thoughts because you will have developed that skill. You will be much more composed at noticing thoughts, at letting go of thoughts, at replacing thoughts. Not everyone is going to have that strength. If you've not got that strength, you have to do the activity. So, and what I mean is you have to change the activity that you're doing. So if you sat in bed, go and have a cold shower. If you're on the sofa, go and grab your guitar, go for a walk. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, try and change the environment, change the activity in order to help you change the thought process. If you're strong enough, then just change the thought process, but not many people will be strong enough to do that. And that is what I did to overcome it. I developed a really strong why, and I think the why developed through some of the failures of trying to do it. I really made it clear in my mind that I really wanted to do this. The other thing I did, which I've not mentioned, is that I identified as someone that doesn't MB anymore, or that doesn't watch any sexual content. I identified as that, and it was easier for me to identify as that once I had overcome the first real big wave of resistance. So you'll find that when you start, there'll be a period of time which you'll manage, and at some point you'll have a massive swarm, or army as I keep referring to, of urges that come over you. Each time you overcome that, it will be easier for you to identify as someone that does not MB anymore. The more you do that, the easier it then becomes. The whole process gets easier. So it's a combination of developing a strong want to not do it, identifying as someone that doesn't do it, and becoming a master at changing either your thought or the activity that you're doing at the time when you start to feel the urges, and blocking all obvious things that will influence you negatively. And I would honestly just keep it as simple as that. There's probably all sorts of weird and wonderful ways that people recommend overcoming this, but I would keep it as simple as that. The other thing I would say, and I'm just speaking out loud here, is that for me, I noticed that when I was younger and I was trying to overcome this, I would always set myself a goal, and this didn't work for me, but I would set myself a goal. I'd say, right, I'm going to go 5 days, or I'm going to go 3 days, or I'm going to go 7 days, or whatever it was. And that actually wasn't good for me, because it didn't instill in me that I'm a person that doesn't MB. It was just a restriction for a period of time, and then I was going to let go of that restriction. So there was always a part of my mind that knew that I will be caving at some point. I will be doing this again at some point. And that actually wasn't helpful for me. It was more helpful for me when I said to myself, I'm not someone that does this anymore. There's no time limit. I don't need to count the days. I'm just not someone that does this anymore. That for me was a mindset that made a big difference. So by all means, write down what I've said, write down those points, and see how you can apply it to your lives. To finish off the video, I would say that if you're someone that is addicted, if you're someone that does this to like real extremes, then it might be more useful for you to see a professional. It might be something that you want to do anyway, just to sort of get some extra help, because you know there's a lot of other deeper reasons as to why we may be doing this kind of thing, and it may be beneficial for you to see a professional. But for me, that's how I managed to overcome it. It took me a long time before I got to that to the place where I did overcome it. And yeah, I hope this video helps you today. This is what worked for me, and I hope it works for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot.